Okay. Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us this afternoon. Yes, so today we have with us Simon and Michelle. Yes, so you can see them waving their hands. So we will, as you already know, we have created an event. So many of you have already registered on Facebook to be a part of the event. So thank you so much for that. So today we will be talking about Master of Nursing. So we will give you a bit of a bit information, more information on our course, as well as talk to you about the registration process and nursing career as a whole in Australia, as well as we will have a dedicated time after the presentation where we will have an allocated time for you to ask your questions. You can use the comment section if you are live on Facebook. If you are here with us on Zoom, I see we have a few participants here as well. So please feel free to use the Q&A section and we will definitely address all your questions at the end of the session. So without much further ado, I would like to invite Michelle to please kindly start the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Bodhi, and welcome to all of you. Welcome to IHM, if I might say so. Now, for some of you, this might be your first step of your international career pathway. For some others, it might be that you're halfway through, your education or building up your career in the international market. So we hope that through this webinar, we are able to give you a lot of information that might be helpful to you in creating your dream career or your dream life for yourself. Um, so to start with, who are we? Okay, so IHM is a higher education provider. We specialize in postgraduate courses for nurses. We prepare nurses for the global market. For Australia, yes, but also with our master's program, we help nurses to go outwards to the UK, US, because all our programs are recognized in these markets as well. Our courses are accredited by the Australian government's Tertiary Education Quality Standards Agency, that is TEQSA. And IHM as an institute specializes, as I said, in nursing, and we have trained over 2,000 nurses through the years, and they've successfully created for themselves a career in the Australian medical industry. So just to move on, we have a small video of IHM, our campuses, and what it is that our students do here in Australia. There you go. So for those who have not yet visited our campuses, we've got all these world-class facilities with our labs and live simulations. We train our nurses and prepare them to be ready for the Australian markets, of course, but also the global markets. I'm going to do a short explanation on the global opportunities for nurses. Now, as we all know, in the given pandemic emergency, nurses or the role a nurse has to play has come to the forefront. In fact, in some countries, they are said to be given more importance than uh, the defense force or the army or the naval force. Okay, so just this is just to cover some of the global opportunities that nurses have out there. Okay, to start with, the outcome of growth in world population. So we've got some statistics that I'd like to share with you. This is based on the UN World Population Perspective Notes. Okay. Uh, Now, the world's population is expected to reach 8.5 billion in 2030. And further, until 2050, it is going to reach a whopping 9.7 billion, which means we need a lot of more healthcare facilities to obviously cater to this population. The life expectancy is due to reach 77, if I'm not mistaken. My statistics are right. Yes, it is supposed to be 77.1 in 2025. Now, among this population, there is an increasing number of aging population who are above the age of 65 and going further who are above the age of 80. Um, Obviously, when there is an aging population, the demand for the healthcare sector automatically grows. Uh, the national markets or the domestic markets are not able to meet the requirements of these nurses, and hence there is a lot of dependency on the international workforce, on nurses who are migrating from overseas. Again, there is a highly visible aging workforce. Okay, so the proportion of persons aged 25 to 64 years and to those over 65 years, it reflects the potential impact of population aging on the labor market and thus the economic performance. All right, so hence today more than ever, there is a need for nurses, there is a demand for nurses in the global markets. Now, this is just a small diagrammatic formation that we have created that will explain the pathway for overseas nurses to come to Australia. Okay, so overseas nurses are basically, we have subcategorized them into two uh, categories. So one would be a diploma nurse, which a lot of you might be. And then there are also the bachelor's graduate nurses. Okay, in Australia, and I will follow this up by the whole registration process, in order to meet your registration requirements, you need to be at an Australian qualification framework level 7. So if you're a bachelor's degree holder from overseas, you will meet that requirement. Okay, then your pathway to come to Australia would be for you to either study your master's, which will enable you to get your graduate visa. So if you're studying in places like, let's say, Perth, for example, you could study for 2 years and then you would get a stay back visa for, let's say, 3 years. And if you're doing it from Sydney or Melbourne, you'd get a stay back for 2 years. And you have to follow that up with the OBA prep package. So that is something we'll cover up in the later stages as well. If you're a diploma nurse, um, there is a need for you to upscale your qualifications. So if you're a diploma nurse who's trying to register with APRA, which is the Australian Health Practitioners Regulatory Agency, they will come back to you and they will ask you to upscale your qualification. And so we have the Graduate Certificate of Nursing program, which will bring you up to an AQF level 8. Okay, so graduate certificate in nursing is a postgraduate certificate course for nurses, and that can be done, that will create a pathway to do your Masters of Nursing. And then on the side, you can prepare for your OBA as well. Okay, so in doing this, you would get your COE or a study visa for almost 2.5 years. Okay, and that again will be followed by your stay back. So this, as you see, is the Australian registration process. All right, the Australian nursing registration pathway. It is broadly classified into the 5 steps that you see on the screen. Okay, when you go onto APRA's website, they'll ask you to do a self-check. A self-check is basically, they'll ask you for your qualifications, so on and so forth. And from there, they ask you to pay a non-refundable fees of 640 Australian dollars, which is called the orientation and portfolio assessment stage. All right, there'll be a video there, and they'll speak to you about the Australian nursing sector. And then at the end of it, there'll be some questions which you're expected to answer. Based on that, you will be streamlined into stream A, B, or C. Now, A is mostly for nurses who have been, who have studied, let's say, in the UK, where the practices are very similar to Australia, and so they get direct registration. If you're categorized into stream B, you will then be given a referral letter to do your NCLEX RN. Okay. NCLEX RN is the multiple choice question. It's an online question that can be done at a Pearson's View test center, at a registered Pearson's View test center. Okay. And after that, you will come to OSCE. Now, OSCE is the practical exam there is. So you need to clear your NCLEX, which is the multiple choice question, the OSCE, and that happens here in Australia. And post that is when you submit your English scores and get your registration there. All right. Now, why nursing in Australia? Of course, you have a lot of options. You'd have the UK, the Ireland. I am a sales and marketing, and I'd like to talk to you here based on the information I have when I speak to students, okay? We get a lot of students who like to travel from Europe to Australia, or let's say from the GCC countries to Australia. Why is that? A, Australia is among the highest paid nurses in the global markets. So I think after the US, we are the highest, our nurses are the highest paid. Okay, and while you'll see the hourly payments each of our nurses receive, etc. Okay, in Australia, uh, you can maintain a work-life balance. So our nurses here have the option of picking up the shifts that they'd like to work for. We have nurses who have small children that they want to bring up on the home front, and so they only work the weekend shifts, and they get paid a lot of money for it. So that's another very motivating factor for nurses when they take their registration up in Australia. World-class education. A lot of my students have complained about how children's education is very expensive in whichever country they reside in. Australia offers you free education if you're working, if your kids go to our public schools, They've got excellent quality education, and that is something on offer for you as well. And of course, we have the great Australian outdoors, which I cannot talk enough about because our weather here is beautiful. You can even go camping in the winter and you'll still, love the great outdoors. You have great chances for your career progression opportunities are great as well. And you have excellent standards of living. In fact, Perth is, I think, in the latest statistics that's come out, Perth is somewhere along number 6, I think, when it comes to comparing the standards of living across the world. So there you go. Those are a few reasons that you would want to come to Australia and work as a nurse here. So as I said, these are some of the figures, if you're able to view it. An average salary a nurse uh, will be earning would be anywhere between 75 to 77,000 per year. Okay, so this is as per, it was last updated on the 16th of October 2020. Of course, from there it has only gone up, and this is at an entrant level, which means if you have specialized or you have done a master's, let's say you've done a master's. So if you look at it state-wise, you'll see as an entry level in NSW, it would be 123,812, and then as you go up, your salary increases. Okay, so I'd like to reiterate what I said previously. You will never, as a nurse, be complaining as far as your pay is concerned, because you get paid really well. Okay. All right. And that leaves me with the Master of Nursing program, which Simon will talk to you about. And I'm sure he has a lot of insights that he'd like to share with you as well. Simon?
Great. Great. Thanks, Michelle. And welcome, everybody. Welcome, everyone who joined us on Zoom. And also welcome to those who have joined us online as well. So have joined our Facebook live stream as well. Now, we're going to talk about a couple of things going forward for the next 20 minutes or so. One will be about the Master of Nursing and about the various pathways there. But I might just go backwards by a few steps before we go forwards, if you don't mind. Michelle talked for a few minutes there about the workforce and the demand for the Australian workforce and nursing workforce generally. So let me just put a few more numbers there to give you a bit more of an Australian context and a feel, okay? So over the next 10 years, over the next decade, through to about 2030, Australia expects that it will have a shortfall of about 200,000 nurses in Australia. Australia relies on overseas trained nurses to fill the difference between Australian nurses who are studying bachelor and diploma courses and the increasing demand for healthcare services. There is a gap, and that gap is filled by overseas trained nurses. The demand going forward is going to be more for specialists and for specialist qualified nurses than it is for generalist and general nurses. There's generally enough what I'll call staff nurses coming through bachelor and diploma courses in Australia. There's generally enough to be able to fill that need with a little bit of extra top up from internationally qualified nurses. The biggest demand is for specialists. So masters, qualified nurses who may also be specialists in ICU or neonatal or critical care, accident, emergency, renal, etc. Okay. As Michelle pointed out earlier, Australian society is getting older, like most countries in the world. So unlike India, India is a little bit of a, if you're listening to us from India, or you know someone who lives and works in India, India is a little bit of the reverse of the rest of the world. The oldest population group in India is aged under 18. So when you look at that, that is the next 2 generations of workforce are already the largest population group in India. In Australia, by 2030, the oldest population group in Australia will be over 65. That'll be the largest group of our population. All of those people, like me, will need looking after. We'll all need care, but we're also going to need specialist care because we'll be developing a whole range of conditions. And that's why IHM is very, very excited to put make available now the Master of Nursing course, which means that we're able to build on what has been our graduate diploma and graduate certificate courses that we've been offering for the past 3 or 4 years, and then moving into now a Master of Nursing. So as Michelle mentioned earlier, we've trained just over 2,000 nurses in the past 4 years with IHM in Australia. Now, a number of those have come through the EPIQ pre-registration course, and others have completed graduate diploma and graduate certificate as they have been able to then meet the eligibility requirements for nursing registration in Australia. So now you can take that experience. If you have already done a graduate diploma or graduate certificate with us, you can take that learning and now apply that into finish off your master's over 1 more year. If you haven't joined us in Australia to do a graduate diploma or graduate certificate, now is the perfect time to get started on your journey either to Australia or to other countries like the UK, the US, Canada, Ireland, South Africa, GCC, Singapore, all of these countries that recognize Australian qualifications and will then also recognize your Master of Nursing qualification wherever you go to work. So now I've sort of given hopefully a little bit more of that background. Let's now talk about the Master of Nursing course. So in the top right-hand corner of this slide, you'll see a colorful little wheel, and in there is different numbers 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So the Master of Nursing course, as you can see there with the reddy pink color, is an AQF level 9 qualification. AQF stands for the Australian Qualifications Framework. And that's the framework the government of Australia and most governments around the world put in place to measure what level of academic skill is needed in order to complete this course. In the case of our master's program, it's a level 9. In the case of the graduate certificate and graduate diploma course, they're level 8, and you can see those in the purple space, okay? If you hold a bachelor qualification, you're at a level 7, which is the greeny color. If you hold a 3-year nursing diploma, so that might be from Sri Lanka, might be from India, from Malaysia, in a certain period, and a while ago from the Philippines, for example, you would then be a level 6, which is the brownie space on the in the middle on the right-hand side. Okay, so as Michelle beautifully mentioned earlier, if you hold a 3-year diploma and you want to be registered as a nurse in Australia, you will need to complete an AQF level 7, 8, or 9 qualification in order to be eligible for registration. Because unfortunately, an AQF level 6 is not of a high enough academic standing for the nursing board to approve that, okay? And that's what we've been working with a number of nurses over the years, doing graduate certificate and graduate diploma. So they can go from a 6 and jump over the 7 and go straight through to an 8 and then be eligible for registration with the nursing board. Now we're very, very pleased to have our Master of Nursing course available. And that is an AQF level 9. So any nurse, any graduate, any GNM completing the graduate certificate in nursing and then going on to the master's course will go straight from a level 6 straight through to a level 9. Now that's a really, really unique opportunity for a diploma qualified nurse to then be able to complete a Master of Nursing. We're one of the few institutes who will be able to provide you with that opportunity. And the reason we do that is very simple. We know nursing and we understand nursing. We understand the role that nurses play. We also understand that in many, many places in the world, a 3-year diploma is the only qualification or the main qualification available to nurses. And so we want to recognize your qualification, your registration, and your working experience in then looking at how you're then able to enter a Master of Nursing course. So let's talk about the course a little bit, and then we'll talk about some fees. And if we just go back a slide, thanks, Bodhi, that'll be great, or Michelle, whoever. Just go back one slide. Thank you very much. Okay, so as Michelle mentioned earlier, we at this course, and IHM is accredited by TEQSA, which is TEQSA. TEQSA is the Australian government agency that regulates us and all the universities and higher education colleges and institutes in Australia. So we're measured on the same standards as any university that you would care to look at, the same as any private higher education institute. So the Master of Nursing is a registered and accredited course. If you visit the TEQSA website and you want to take a look, you'll see simply input into the TEQSA search bar, Institute of Health and Management, and you'll see our Master of Nursing course pop up there as an accredited program. It's a 104-week, that's 2 years course to do the entire 4 semesters. And the course is 104 weeks or 2 years over 4 semesters. 2 semesters in the first year, 2 semesters in the second year. So for international students who might be joining us on campus in Australia, you would be able to work 20 hours per week because you'd be on a student visa. You would be studying for 20 hours per week, and then you would be doing 2 semesters in year 1 and 2 semesters in your second year. As Michelle mentioned, I'll talk about some of the benefits later around post-study work visas as well. The course also, our Masters is quite unique in that we include an elective unit for you to then go and do a placement, a clinical placement in an Australian healthcare setting. So that could be a hospital, it could be an acute setting, it could also be an aged care facility based upon the type of setting that you want to work in. So that is an elective unit. And that by that stage, to complete that unit, you'll need to be registered with the Nursing Registration Board. So you have to be registered in Australia to do that unit. But we can talk about that in a moment about how that fits into your study program if you want to take that elective unit, okay? The English language requirement is IELTS 6.5 with no band less than 6. That's PTE 56 or OET B and C in a clubbed combination, okay? So IELTS 6.5, no less than 6, OET B and C in a clubbed combination, and PTE 56, okay? Now, the key benefits of a 2-year program for overseas trained nurses, and remembering to be eligible for this course, you would either be a bachelor holder, okay, and a registered nurse at the moment in the country you're working in, all right? If you're a diploma holder, you would then do the 6-month graduate certificate in nursing, and then that will transition you into the Masters. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. So if you're completing this course over 52 weeks, you'll be eligible for a 2-year post-study work visa if you're studying in Melbourne and Sydney. Or if you're in beautiful Perth, as Michelle is, you would then get a 3-year post-study work visa. And the reason for that is because Perth is classified as a regional centre. Okay, so the Australian government's making available 1 more year of post-study work visa. Okay, in addition, and this is important to consider if you decide that you are wanting to apply for residency as a result or after you finish your study, you're eligible for 5 additional points if you decide to apply for residency in your application. If you've studied in Perth, you're also eligible for an additional 5 points by completing the 2-year Masters program. So there's a double benefit there if you decide to apply for residency once you've finished your study. That's 10 points. And now, as you guys know, and I won't be talking to you specifically about migration, but as you guys know, Australia's migration system is based on points. So the higher qualification, the higher English language study, the area that you study in a regional centre versus a non-regional centre will all accumulate additional points towards your permanent residency application. So please do talk to your migration consultant, or please talk to our in-house migration consultants who can talk to you more about that as well. Okay, so 2 key benefits there from studying the Masters program on a 2-year program. Can you go to the next slide, please, Michelle? Fantastic. All right, so now let's talk dollars, because there are some fees to do this course. As I said earlier, we offer this course on campus in Australia, and that's at our campuses in Melbourne, Sydney, and Perth. Now, the video you saw earlier showed a collection of our different cities, Melbourne, Sydney, and Perth. It also showed you what all of our campuses look like. So all of our campuses are very similar standard. Okay, the classrooms are great, interactive whiteboards, interactive classrooms. You'll be working with in group assignments with students. If you're in Perth, you'll be working with students in Melbourne and Sydney, and vice versa, etc. Okay, you'll be hearing from industry experts in renal nursing or in neonatal care or critical care from around the world, not just from around Australia, but from around the world. And this is really important because it then gives you that international context on your particular area of nursing, okay? You'll be hearing from experts who will give you different views to what you may already have, okay? So on campus in Australia, the course cost is $47,200 for the 2-year course. So that's $23,500 per year, okay? Now, if you have studied with IHM previously, so you hold a graduate diploma or a graduate certificate in nursing, there's a credit transfer package, which means you get credit for the units that you've already studied in graduate certificate and graduate diploma. And that means that your fees, if you're a graduate diploma student, would be 25,000 Australian dollars. And if you're a graduate certificate graduate, there you go, too many graduates in there, you would then be paying $35,250 in fees, okay? Now, we are also offering, because registration is an important part of the preparation to work as a nurse in Australia, IHM also offers what's called an NCLEX and OSCE courses. That's 2 preparation courses to help you prepare for the nursing registration process that Michelle explained a little bit earlier. Now, we're offering a 50% scholarship on those 2 courses, which you can study as you are studying your master's. So as you're working through your first year of your master's program on campus in Australia, you would then be studying your NCLEX and OSCE in order to be ready to do your nursing exam assessment in Australia. So by the end of the first year, you should have finished 1 year of your master's and completed your registration process as well, which means then in the second year, you're working then as a registered nurse in Australia, which means obviously you're being paid more than if you were working as a carer in the aged care sector, which is where we would be we would hope we'd be able to place you into part-time work. Okay. Now the course is also available online. Exactly the same course, but it's delivered online for students around the world. The fees for the online course are $32,000. If you're a graduate diploma in nursing, so one of our GDN students who is now working overseas, the course would be $20,000 when we deduct the credit transfer, the credit points that you get because you've studied GDN already. If you study GCN with us, then the course fee would be $25,500. Okay, that's with the credit transfer taken away for you as well. Okay, so you can start to see there's a difference obviously between online and on campus, because obviously on campus is in Australia and there's all the facilities that are available to you there, but it's exactly the same course, same lecturers, same course, same assessments, etc., etc. Okay. Now, because Australia's borders remain closed at the moment, and we don't have a definite date on when they're going to reopen, we hope it will be sometime in the March to June period of 2023. So about 9 months away, okay? So whilst they remain closed, we see this as a perfect opportunity to get started on your education in order to start helping make your nursing dreams come true, to work in Australia, or to take your Australian qualification and then go and work overseas in another country, okay? So because you would be beginning to study with us online, we're offering for students who enroll with us, we're offering the first semester, the graduate certificate in advanced nursing, which is 4 units for a lower price of $5,500. So we're offering a scholarship of $2,000 over our normal price for the graduate certificate in nursing. Now, this is because we don't know exactly when Australian borders would be open. So we don't quite know exactly when you'll be able to join us on campus. As I said, we hope it will be sometime between March and May or June of 2022. But in the meantime, for international students, so students who are enrolling in the on-campus course, you'll need to be commencing your first semester online. So to help you do that, we've been able to offer a small scholarship of $2,000, which hopefully will be a benefit to you and assistance to you to get started, enrolled in your on-campus course, and to get started straight away. So whilst borders are closed, we really see this as a great opportunity to not waste this time. Let's invest this time in getting started on education, because education will be a key benefit when it comes to registration in Australia as a nurse. Okay. Now, if you are a diploma qualified nurse, as I mentioned earlier, you hold at the moment, hold a level 6 qualification. And that means, unfortunately, you're not eligible for registration, and you're also not eligible to enter this course directly, okay? You need a bachelor to do that. So you can complete the first unit, the first semester, which is the graduate certificate in nursing. When you successfully pass that, we are then able to, we're then able to enroll you into the Master of Nursing course. And you'll be given credit for the units that you've already completed, okay? So if you're a GNM, what that means is your first semester will cost $5,500, which you will do online, okay? Once you pass those 4 units, and where our job is to help you pass those units, you will then be enrolled into the Master of Nursing course. And you would be given 4 units or equivalent credit for the 4 units you've completed, which means if you go look at the top section in point number C, your fees would then be $35,250, okay? Meaning that overall you will have paid $35,000 plus $5,500, you will have paid $40,750. which is a further reduction of $7,000 over the full course fees. So for diploma qualified nurses, you will need to do the first semester of doing the graduate certificate in order to qualify or be eligible to enter the Master of Nursing course. Okay. Now I know there's a lot of numbers and all sorts of things I've just thrown in there. Michelle and her team are here to help sort that out for you. And one thing IHM is very, very committed to, we want to talk to every single student individually because every one of your situations is different. So you might be working, you may not be working, you might have family, you might not have family, you may be ready to leave your job, you might need to study online before you're ready to leave your job in 2 years and then come to Australia, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll discuss with you each of your individual situations and then work out the best possible pathway for you. Now, for students who do not meet the English language requirement, which is 6.5, no less than 6 in any one band, or PTE 65, IHM also offers English program and English for academic purposes, so an English preparation course, which has direct entry into the Master of Nursing program. So if you don't currently have a language certificate or an IELTS test or a PTE test that's current for 6.5 or 56, you can join the EAP program online, and we will then, once you successfully complete that EAP course, which requires 6 months of online study, you will then be able to directly enter into the graduate certificate or the Master of Nursing program. Okay. So you don't need to go off and do another NCLEX test, another IELTS test or another OET test. You can complete the English for academic purposes preparation and then go directly into graduate certificate or the Master of Nursing course. Okay. So that's just hopefully to make things a little bit easier for you if you don't currently meet or don't have a current English language certificate. All right. Okay, next slide, Michelle. I think that should be the question marks, yeah? All right, so why choose IHM? Well, of course, there's there's hundreds of reasons to choose IHM. First of all, you get to see Michelle and I every day. So what more could you ask for? All of our faculty are either PhD or master's qualified nurses. They're all registered nurses. They work, so they understand what happens in the Australian healthcare industry and in a hospital in Australia. So they're there to give you the benefit of their experience. Because you'll be joining us online initially whilst borders are closed, particularly if you're located overseas or outside Australia, our online learning platform is one of a kind, very, very simple to use. We use a platform called Canvas, which means that all of your learning content is in one place. It's designed so that it is fully interactive. It's also designed so that if you are studying in your own time, you won't get lost. It's not like you're being left on your own and you need to find help. All of the resources to help guide you through a unit or through an assignment are sitting in Canvas right beside you, ready to go. Okay. State-of-the-art facilities you saw from the video earlier. Our labs look fantastic and they're available to you. If you're studying on campus, they're available to you to use, to practice your skills, to develop your skills. You might be working part-time in an aged care facility, for example, and come across something that you haven't used, a piece of equipment you haven't used before, a new process that you haven't worked in before. Simply come to our labs and our educators, our lecturers will take you through and show you that process or that technique or that particular piece of equipment. Okay, no extra cost. That's just part of our job to make sure that you are able to do your job well. And last but not least, 24/7 support. We're here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So whether it's an academic question, whether it's a student support question, you might have a question about your assessments, simply using our student portal, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're here for you because our job is to help prepare you to then do your job even better. So I think next slide is lots of question marks. Hopefully you're not looking as confused as this young lady. So we are now here to answer questions. For anybody who is online with us via Facebook live stream, please just let us know, drop some questions in. And Bodhi will then gather those together and we'll be able to answer. We're here to answer all your questions and we'll stay here as long as it takes to do that as well. So thank you for your time. Hopefully we've been able to give you a bit of an overview about the Master of Nursing and about the reasons why it's a great career opportunity for you to now commence, because the demand is there for specialist and master's qualified nurses are in Australia as well as around the world.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Simon, for that. Thank you, Michelle, as well. Thank you so much for providing all the information to our viewers here. So we do not have any questions on Zoom. So we have a few attendees here as well. So if you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A question section. Okay, sorry, we do have one question now. It just popped up. So Navjeet here asks, while pursuing Masters of Nursing, will IHM assist in helping with the NCLEX exam?
Good question, Navjeet. And I like your terminology of cracking the exam. So the short answer is we will do everything we can to assist you prepare for the exam. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, within our master's program, you're able to, and we're offering a 50% scholarship on our 2 preparation courses for the nursing exam. One is the online NCLEX test. So that is preparation for the NCLEX test. And as you know, as Michelle mentioned earlier, it is an online test. Okay, so we run that preparation course over 12 weeks online. So then you become familiar with how the test works in an online environment. We do 2 things when we prepare you for that online test. Number one is we teach you how to crack the test. So we teach you some of the tricks and techniques of the test. The more important thing is that we teach you how to answer the questions. So we teach you Australian nursing skill. We teach you Australian nursing standards because that's what the test is asking. So the way that test is designed, Navjeet, is there's only very few yes or no questions. There might be 4 answers, but they will ask, but you're asked to give the answer that is most correct. Okay, so you need to understand what the question is asking, first of all, and that's what we teach you as much as we teach you the tricks and the techniques. Okay, the OSCE preparation is done on campus at the same campus that you would be studying in if you were studying on campus with us in Melbourne, Sydney, or Perth. So the short answer to your question is you'll be working on masters, you'll be working alongside completing your NCLEX and OSCE preparation. You need to use a lab to practice. We have labs available to practice. You want to practice all day Saturday, all day Sunday, you're welcome to use the labs all day Saturday and Sunday to practice. Okay, and our lecturers and our teachers are there to help you do that as well. Okay, so hopefully that gives you some comfort. We see them being done together, because then you're able to finalize your registration and move along. Okay.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you so much for that. I hope that helped, Navjeet. So we have another question from Siggy. So Siggy wants to know, if the borders don't open within the expected time, what will be the next step?
So very good question, Siggy. Very, very good question. If you are enrolling in the on-campus course, okay, what we would then do, if for some reason there was a delay in borders opening, we would then defer you until the next intake. Okay, so if, for example, you were to commence online now, enroll on campus and commence in July or November, you will then work through the graduate certificate, which is the first 4 units or the first semester. If by the end of that first semester, and there's holidays and all sorts of other things in there, if by then the borders weren't open, we would then have to defer you until the next intake. So that might be July is deferred to November, for example, or March is deferred to July. We'd obviously work through that with you, but it just means then by deferring, because borders aren't open, you would then join the next intake, and then you would just finish, you would complete your final 18 months of the course in Australia. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Simon. So we have Mr. Khan, who is really, really eager to join Master of Nursing course. He has given us his mobile number as well in the comment section. So I believe our admissions team will contact him shortly. So rest be assured, we will get in touch with you. Indeed. So moving on to the other questions that we have, Jagdeep here writes, I believe Jagdeep is doing the GDN course online. Okay. Since she's in India. Yep. So she wants to know about the NCLEX preparation. How can we assist her better?
Okay, so the NCLEX preparation is available as an online course. Okay, so there's a couple of pieces to this. The NCLEX course is a 12-week online course, and it's essentially 5 to 6 hours of contact, which means you're participating in 2 tutorials per week. Okay, and then every day we send you additional NCLEX questions, which you need to answer, and then they become the discussion for the next session, and you learn how to answer those questions, and then we send you more questions. So you're always doing questions. NCLEX is part of your life for 12 weeks. Okay, once you finish that, as you progress through that preparation, your lecturer will very much tailor your progress to the areas that you're focusing on. Okay, so your nursing knowledge may be very strong in one area, but not so strong in another area. So your lecturer will see that. We're not just going to keep training you in areas that you're strong in and forget about the areas you're not so strong in. So we'll get the right balance so that you're able to pass that test you're able to pass that test when you sit down at a Pearson VUE testing center in front of that PC. Now, the NCLEX test is 200 questions approximately, and normally takes 3 to 4 hours to do. So you need to be well prepared. And that 12 weeks online, you're studying GDN with us at the moment. You have 2 choices. You can either do that consecutively whilst you're studying your GDN, or you could wait until you finish GDN and then commence NCLEX. That really probably depends on your own personal time available, your family commitments, your work commitments, things like that. Okay. I know for nurses at the moment, COVID time means 8 and 10-hour shifts have become 12 and 14-hour shifts. So it may be you don't have quite as much time available. So that's really up to you. And we can discuss that with your lecturer or discuss that with our counsellors like Michelle, who can then determine and just work with you to see whether you want to study them together or you want to finish GDN and then join the NCLEX course. Now, if you're studying GDN with us, obviously, the next step after that would then be on to masters, which then obviously considerably increases your job opportunities as well. So talk that through with an IHM counsellor, because then we can get the right order and the right sequence. One thing I will just mention, Bodhi, just to finish off on that answer, is don't forget your English language requirement for registration, okay? Registration, the English language required for registration is IELTS 7 in all 4 bands, okay? Or PTE 65, which is PTE academic. So you must have that English. Now, you don't need that level of English until you're about to finalize your registration. So you can do the NCLEX preparation, you can do the OSCE preparation, and then do the tests. And then once you've finished those, you can then finalize your English language and then submit your final confirmation of application for registration, okay? So as you're working through, as long as you've got enough in, you've obviously got 6.5, no less than 6, in order to maintain, you'll be eligible to enroll into GDN. So you're almost there. So now we just need to focus on getting your English up to 7s or 65 PTE. And you can do that, you'll do that more during NCLEX. Or it may be that you want to join the, you could either do further English study, or you could join the Master of Nursing course for another year as a way of further improving your English, heading towards registration. Okay, hopefully that answers your question.
Simon, I'd just like to add to that. So a lot of our students, especially in GCN and GDN, are confused on whether they can do NCLEX along with GCN and GDN. So as Simon rightly mentioned, it totally depends on your work schedule and your family life commitments and things like that. But you need to understand that the NCLEX RN preparatory course does happen online. And because we have a very well-established online learning platform, it enables you to study in your own time. So let's say you have that 1 hour a day to spare. So our classes usually happen twice a week. If you have that 1 hour to spare to study in your own time, because you need not, if you can make it for the live lectures, great. But if you can't, you do get recorded sessions of the lecture, which you can then study whenever you're free. And as we mentioned before, we always have our student support team and our educators who are always freely available to you. So you can write to them quickly on Teams, and they'll get back in touch with you as soon as they can. So we're very flexible as far as the study convenience bit for you is concerned. It's just about you making out that half an hour to an hour daily between your schedule to do the NCLEX RN. But it is very doable, and it's really good if you can work on your registration process while you are doing your GDN and GCN. So that's just something that I wanted to mention.
That's good advice. Good advice.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Simon. So yes, we have one last question, and you know what question it is. It definitely has to be our EPIQ question. So it had to be like, yes. So without one EPIQ RN question, all our sessions are incomplete. So yes, so this person, let me just get her name. So Rav wants to know, she wants a deferment with regards to an EPIQ RN letter. So any message?
So what was that, a deferment, did you say?
Yes.
Okay.
All
right.
Yes.
So with EPIQ, IHM's approval to deliver EPIQ in Australia expires on the 9th of August. Okay. So just over 6 weeks away. So we've got intakes running in Australia for students who are in Australia. Okay, I think we'll have one, maybe two more intakes between now and the 9th of August. Okay, but only for students who are in Australia. So if you are outside Australia and you are holding a letter of offer, our best advice our best advice to you is, if you are not able to come to Australia, is that we are very happy to refund all of the fees that you've paid to us. Okay, because unfortunately we can't offer the course. We can't guarantee any student will get a travel exemption from the Australian government to join us on campus. We've been applying for travel exemptions. I think we're up to about 48 travel exemptions we have applied for over the past 3 months or so for different students. And unfortunately, none of them have been approved. Oh, sorry, only one has been approved. And that person's husband was already living and studying and working in Australia. Okay, so if you're an EPI, if you hold an EPIQ letter of offer from IHM, you are welcome to join us on campus if you're able to come to Australia. But if you are not able to do that, then our advice to you would be, we are very happy to refund all of the fees that you've paid to us. Okay. Our approval to deliver EPIQ expires or runs out on the 9th of August. So we won't be delivering the course after the 9th of August. Okay. So I'm trying to be, this is the black and white facts, unfortunately. We don't know when the borders will reopen, as we said earlier. And unfortunately, with the borders not open, we're still running the course in Australia, but unless you can join us in Australia, we can't, unfortunately, we're not going to continue to renew the letters of offer beyond the 9th of August. So my advice to you would be, if you can't be in Australia, apply for a refund, and we can share with you the direct link to our website for the refund form. Complete that and we'll happily refund your money for all of the fees that you've paid to us as well. We're really sorry we can't continue on, but the nursing board, as Michelle said earlier, the nursing board has changed the process for nursing registration. So the EPIQ course from IHM is no longer an option. They're moving on to, the nursing board is moving on to the OBA process. And that's why we're offering the NCLEX and the OSCE preparation course.
Thank you. Thank you, Simon. I hope that answer helped, Rav. So we have the last question for today.
Yep.
It's from Siggy again. So Siggy wants to know, can you let us continue the NCLEX RN course till we get successful results?
Siggy. Good question. Good question. So the short answer is yes, you can do it multiple times. The preparation course, you can do multiple times, okay? We're offering a scholarship at the moment. So the course after the scholarship is $2,000, okay? So you can keep doing that course. However, our job is to make sure, and this is what Michelle and I said to you earlier as well, our job is to make sure that you pass the course and you pass the test on the first attempt. So you don't have to keep trying, okay? And that's why when you study with us, and it's an online course, but there's a lot of interaction with your educators and lecturers, okay? Our job is to help you pass that test. We're not going to teach you the same stuff, even though you're good at the same stuff and you're no good at other. We will make sure that you get to know all of the material you need. But if you're not successful in passing the first time, okay, you're able to keep doing it again and again and again. But that does also mean that, you know, you need to you'll keep paying for the course as well, okay? Don't think of it like an IELTS test. You know, when you do an IELTS test and you miss once, so you go back in 2 weeks, you try again and try again and try again. This is all about learning. So our job is to make sure you pass on that first attempt only. Then you only have to pay your $2,000, okay? APRA, on the other hand, has another view. APRA, from what we understand, will probably only allow you to try 3 times before you then have to take a break, and then you can try again, okay? So there, and ARPA's view is if you try and don't pass 3 times, you need to go away and learn further, study further, and then come back again. Okay. So, but if you have not passed after 3 attempts, then we haven't done our job properly either. Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Simon, for that. Those were all the questions that we had.
Good.
Thank you so much, Simon. Thank you to all our attendees. Thank you for joining us on Zoom, and thank you for joining our live streaming session on Facebook. We will come up with more of these sessions. We will have frequent sessions where we can interact with you better. And yes, if you have any questions, queries, please feel free to send us an email at inquiry@ihm.edu.au, or you can go to the website and you can use any of the forms, inquiry forms available there, and we will definitely get back to you as soon as possible. Yes.
Great. Thank you, Bodhi. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you, Bodhi. Thank you, Simon.
If you guys have any queries, any questions, as Bodhi said, just drop us an email, let us know across our socials, and we'll get back to you straight away. Thanks, everyone, and we look forward to seeing you online.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.